let's take it one step further. So we feel that HR is supposed to be that safe space, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can be a startup company, it can be a smaller company, it can be where HR generalists, HR managers are very close with these managers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this person or employee does not feel that they are getting the justice that they need in the workplace because they don't feel that their HR is that safe place. Because sometimes a lot of employees don't even go to HR, they just either quit or they just try to find another job. What steps can they take if they feel that the HR department is not a safe place?
Okay, let's go back a little bit because I like this question. When you start feeling harassment and
Mm-hmm.
it's constant, hopefully, and I say this tongue in cheek, hopefully it is online because now you have
Documentation.
documentation.
Yeah.
Document everything. There are a lot of states where you cannot tape meetings. Walk out of that meeting, go back, write down. Everybody was in the meeting. The meeting took place from this time to this time, and this is what was said. Document, document, document. Then when you go to HR and they don't do what they're supposed to, document the HR person's name, document date and time. And then I would suggest going to the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Every state, every major city has one. Some places also have labor boards. You sit down, and what the first thing they're going to ask you is, who did you speak to there about what happened? Did you try to rectify it on your own there?
Okay.
Then they're going to say, do you have proof? You have documentation. And it's going to be about a 2-hour interview where they're asking you questions. They're on your side. And if things go to your side, they'll take the case. They'll even help you get a lawyer to represent you. But it's important that you do all of these steps. By the way, we didn't talk about this. Once you go to the EEOC and you go through that whole process, they send your company a letter letting them know that your company cannot fire you once they get that letter. If they fire you, they're automatically in trouble. So this is something you can do if you want to stay where you're at for right now. Definitely keep track if they try to retaliate against you.
Okay.
Because this is sometimes where companies are like, oh, you went above us, you went around us, you couldn't come talk to us. Why couldn't you tell me how you feel? I did. You didn't want to listen because it wasn't important to you at that time. So this is where retaliation can definitely come. And write down all of that and reach out to your EEOC rep. You will have their name, their email address, and their telephone number, and you will be assigned to somebody.
Absolutely. Now, before they even take that step, now let's say they talk to that HR generalist or HR manager and they feel like nothing has been solved there.
Okay.
Is there someone else in the company that they should also reach out to before they go to the EEOC to also have that documentation?
Depending on the company, there are sometimes hotlines. So you don't have to deal with the HR rep in your building. Sometimes it just depends. Like, it depends on how your company is shaped. Because HR is more than likely going to ask, did you speak to the person who's making you feel uncomfortable? But if they've already made you feel uncomfortable, do you feel like you're going to talk to them one-on-one is going to make you feel more comfortable? It's almost a catch-22 when they're asking you these questions. I'm going to be completely honest. I've been through it. I've gone to the EEOC and they've taken my case before. So that's how I can speak to what will happen. It wasn't virtual at the time, but I walked in there and it was at least a half a day of just going through everything that happened before they took my case.
Okay.
Now, what they're going to say is, for the question you just asked, they might ask, did you talk to the manager? Now, again, if they're sexually harassing you, they're saying things about your ethnicity, about your sexual orientation, about your religion, that's a hard conversation to have. Especially if, how can I put this? You talk like I do. If you're upset, it's hard to have a filter. It is. It's very hard to keep your composure if you feel disrespected. And being harassed is definitely disrespectful.
Yeah, you can definitely feel disrespected. And, you know, and I guess it does go back to depending on the structure of the company too and how big or small that organization is. But I feel that the more people that you talk to and the more documentation that you have is better for you. So let's say if you do have that documentation via email per our meeting, I felt uncomfortable, blah, 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 blah. You have that documentation of meeting with that HR generalist or manager, and then maybe you may take it one step further and speak to that CHRO about what's going on. And if not that, maybe the CEO has an open door policy where you have that direct access to him or her. So the more documentation, I say, will be good, but it's not always needed. But I always take the extra steps, you know how I do.
But also, we want you to feel as comfortable as possible. Because again, like I said, some of those people will not make you feel comfortable. And unfortunately, what we've run into, HR is company first, not candidate first, or not employee first. They're more worried about protecting the company than they are worried about protecting the employees. And that's not what HR is set up to do. Unfortunately, there are CEOs who will be the same way. They're more worried about the company. That's why sometimes if you feel it in your gut, you're not sleeping, your eating patterns are off, you don't feel happy. It can lead definitely towards depression, which it did for me. I'm speaking from experience. Like I was like, I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, weight is up and down crazy. I don't want to hang around people. I don't want to talk to anybody when I get off work. It was that bad for me.
And when you feel that way, I mean, again, take those steps that you mentioned to, get justice for yourself. But at that time, you also know it's time to go. Definitely time to go, especially when you start feeling like that and it's having a toll on your health. Mentally, physically, emotionally, in any type of way, it's time for you to go. But at least you made it known and it was recognized and you recognized it and you recognized those signs and you took the appropriate steps to get out of that employer and also to make sure it's not going to happen to the next person. So always speak up. Don't think just because you're not going to say anything that everything is going to be okay. You have to think about the next person that's also going to be walking into that, who's going to also have those same feelings as you, who may look just like you. So
fortunately, in today's time, and it's probably always been like this, companies only change because of the bottom line, especially bigger companies. They don't care. Sexual harassment, all this other stuff, they don't care about it.
That's good.
But when it comes out in the public and it's a dollar figure attached to that, now the things start to change. You've seen it in sports. You've seen it in the movie industry. You've seen it all over the place. Oh, this $1 million loss, this so many $1 million lawsuits being paid out, this so much this so much that. And you're like, oh, now y'all want to change. It's not that they're better off. It's not they're thinking different. No, they don't want to lose that money. And then it's embarrassing. And like you said, it leads back to partnerships. It leads back to people who want to partner with them and people who want to work for them in the future. No, you don't treat women the right way. No, you don't treat Black people the right way. I'm not going to partner with you. Or I don't even want to work here. Now you have people coming out of college that you really want to look at, or a CEO leaves one company, they come to your company. I don't like the way you deal with this. I'm going to see somebody else.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Is there anything else that you want to add to this topic that can help someone who may be going through harassment right now in the workplace?
Start documenting right now. Go and talk to the people you need to talk to. Again, if you go to the EEOC or the labor board and they send a letter, you cannot be fired. But that does not mean not look for something else.
Exactly.
That does not mean continue to be disrespected, because unfortunately, we're dealing sometimes with a good old boy network. We're dealing with people who are like, oh, I've been at this company for 30 years. How dare you tell me something? Right. That happens a lot more often than you think. Oh, you're new. You can't tell me this. Everybody else laughs at my jokes. That doesn't mean they're funny.
Right. And then they're losing some of their best employees. It takes for them to see, as you mentioned, their bottom line, right? And then once they get rid of these managers that's in place, that shouldn't be in place because they didn't have the proper training, they're trying to call you back to see if you're willing to come back because such and such is no longer there. And at that point, you lost the person because you didn't value your employees. And you know how I feel about that. You always have to value your employees. You value your employees, your company will grow. You treat your employees like they're worthless, your company is definitely going to come down. It might not happen tomorrow, but it will happen.
From the company standpoint, stay on top of this. This is a hot button issue. And with the age of the internet and social media, somebody's always going to talk. And then if somebody says something and somebody else says something and it snowballs, if you don't get in front of it, And it starts with what you said beginning, the training. This is not okay. You cannot say this. You cannot say that, especially for managers. And again, don't just give them that training and they haven't had that training in 10, 15, 20 years. This should be yearly. Minimum, it should be yearly. Not just that's for the entire company, because not only management can make you feel uncomfortable. I don't want to just bring it up that it's just management. Somebody who works for you can make you feel uncomfortable. Your coworker can make you feel uncomfortable.
So across the board. Across the board. And I think that's the number one thing is training is important. And number two, I think those surveys are also important to make sure that those trainings are being implemented within that department as well. Now, let me ask you this. How can someone reach out to you and contact you because you've been through these steps? Do you do consulting on that to help someone who is going through harassment on the steps that they can take? Do you provide that type of coaching?
Actually have been, as of recent, a lot more than ever before.
Okay.
A lot of people have been saying, this is what I'm going through at work. Is this okay?
Okay.
So I've definitely been doing that a lot more. You can reach me at FYPM_staffing, IG, TikTok, YouTube, or I'm on Facebook. I'm across the board. Just reach out. But I've been getting a lot of people reaching out on like IG.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else additional you want to add about your company? Anything upcoming that we should be aware of? Any new podcasts? Any new?
Between me and you, we've already said after our meetings, we're going to start doing this podcast at least once a month. I'm going to try to put out some more content. I think we're going to push each other to put out more content like we were last year. Time is just really, really tight right now. Yes. But at least once a month, you will be getting a podcast like this where we go over different things. And if you want us to talk about something, just reach out to either one of us.
Yep.
Both placement services across everything. She's on the same platforms I am. We like each other. So if you find me, you'll definitely be able to find her and vice versa.
Absolutely.
I post all of her stuff. She posts all of my stuff. So just find us. And if there's something specifically going on, reach out to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wilfred, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. Secret HR Won't Tell You. We will be hosting another subject next month. If you do have any topics that you want us to talk about, or if you have any questions, or if you need any coaching or development, feel free to reach out to us. I also do resume writing. We are in the process of having our resume course completed by Q2. It will go live in sometime in June. We're going to open up a waiting list in April. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later.